What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Stats and Facts, where we have all the stats.
And we have all the facts.
I go by DJG94.
And I go by One. And y'all already know how we do it.
So let's get into it. We got our first actor, writer, producer, and DJ. He goes by Mr. Diallo Riddle. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I just go by Diallo, Mr. Riddle. That's My father was a teacher for a long time, and I feel like only he can, take on that mantle.
Yeah. Well, like you said, man, welcome to the show, man. We making history tonight, so we're super excited to have you on, man.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna kick out the first question. Diallo, what was it like growing up in the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia?
Loved it. Atlanta was a very special place. It wasn't quite as grown up and big as it is now. Like, places that I used to, we used to go and hang out because it was all woods, will be a parking lot and a grocery store now. But, Atlanta was just a very special place. And I think that's why we produced everybody from Ludacris and T.I. and Outkast, to, just a wide variety of Black people. I always say that I was fortunate to grow up there because I didn't think of Black people as even like Black people. Like, we were just all the people, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, Black people could be smart, Black people could be dumb, Black people could be rich, Black people could be poor. It wasn't until, honestly, and I know that sounds crazy because it's not like we didn't have TVs and stuff, but like that was just what was in the TV. I didn't know any white people. Like, it was just the Blacks were the nerds and the jocks and the thugs and the athletes. We were everything. And it wasn't until I went to college that I saw that there were, Black people who came from communities quite unlike Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a way, I realized how spoiled I've been. Because, you go to Boston, it'd be like, neighborhood in Boston that was like, really affluent and, had their stuff together and also Black. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, it was culture shock, and the kids from the Caribbean, a lot of those students, some of them didn't associate with Black people, and it was just weird and kind of sad. I would never forget the first time I went back to Atlanta for Thanksgiving, my freshman year of college, and the first thing I noticed when I got off the plane, I was like, oh, there are a lot of Black people here. It was the first time I realized what made Atlanta really special. Yeah. And I feel like it's only gotten more like that, because when you think about it, like Los Angeles, for example, I want to say Los Angeles, the city, is 9% Black. It feels Blacker than that, but it's only 9%. Places like New York used to be 20, 25% Black. Like, I want to say, I'll have to look it up, but the percentage of Black people in New York has gone way down. I think it's because people from all over, from Texas and North Carolina, Chicago, like, everybody moves to Atlanta now. So even though Atlanta's Black population by percentage has gone down, like, I want to say in the 80s, it was up at like 75%. Like, Atlanta was just the Blackest, wow. My city growing up there was like the Blackest thing. We got a lot of younger white people moving to Atlanta now. So our percentage is around 58%. But when you consider that, nothing goes down in that city, whether it's the mayor, the police chief, like, they're all Black, and that's by design. It's like, it's a cool little place. And I'm not trying to romanticize home. I'm saying it's just different. Atlanta it's just a different type of place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could definitely tell, though, like you said, with when it comes to like music, movies, just entertainment, period. But and then obviously, like the civil rights and those kind of movements, like Atlanta just
it's got the history, right?
Yeah,
it's got the history. And Los Angeles used to be that place that people look. I mean, like, there've always been cities where Black people have sort of clustered. We had Harlem in the 20s, right after World War II. LA was the place to go because you had the beautiful weather, affordable housing, and, like, I want to say, like, between World War II and the Watts riots, the Black population of Los Angeles was something crazy big. Like, it was like 25% or something like that. It was like 30%. And it wasn't until the Watts riots, between the period of the Watts riots and the LA riots, like, there was a lot of turmoil in LA. And it's not by accident that, like, both Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society end with, like, the character who's quote unquote the smart character who's like gonna get out of all this nonsense. At the end of both those movies, that character moves where? To Atlanta. So throughout the 90s and throughout the the build up to the Olympics, people were talking more and more like, oh, I'm gonna go to Atlanta and give it a shot. So I feel like we as Black people have always clustered in certain cities. And I was, Chicago's my second home now, thanks to Southside. And whenever I go there, they're always like, man, Chicago, wow, man, I'm thinking about moving to Atlanta. So I hear from my Chicago people and my Atlanta people, oh, a lot of people in Chicago, they're calling it Chicago South, certain parts of Atlanta right now, because, you just got a lot of people moving in.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, like, as a young kid, like, when did you discover your love for writing?
Very early, in kindergarten, no lie, in kindergarten, I took a bunch of sheets of paper and I drew my favorite dinosaurs and I copied my favorite dinosaur facts out of a dinosaur book I had. So it was plagiarism, it wasn't nothing original. It was just I was copying. But I wrote my favorite facts about each dinosaur. It was about 20 dinosaurs, so 20 pages. And my parents saw I had an interest, so they helped me like staple the cardboard around those sheets of paper, and I turned it into my teacher, and they put it in the library. So I was like really proud of that. So for the next couple of years in elementary school, I was like always writing, and obviously I wasn't plagiarizing dinosaur books. As early as the third grade, I had written a book called The Adventures of Royce Riddle, because I had an interest in history from a very early age. Because my father, he was a Black militant, he raised us on just history. And it wasn't all just even Black history, it was just history of the world. So I wrote a story about a Black World War II spy named Royce Riddle. And by this time I had saved up and got a typewriter. And I wrote that, and that was about 30 pages. And once again, I assembled all the pages and put a nice cover on it. And once again, that school, shout out to West Manor Elementary School, encouraging students, when they showed some initiative, they put that in the library. And they gave me the real thing. Like in the old days, when you go to the library, you had to fill out the library slip, to check out the book. And they put an actual slip in there. And I think I checked it out more than anybody else. But, that was the book that I had. So I've been writing for about as far as I can tell, because I used to love G.I. Joes. I used to love playing with my toys. It's one of the things that stresses me out about having 3 boys of my own now, because there's so many things to watch on Netflix. There's so many video games to play online and on the iPad, and I'm always worried that well, where's their imagination going to come from? Even if they're reading the Japanese subtitles, where's their visualization of what this stuff is all supposed to look like? Like when I would play with G.I. Joes, granted I had my toys, but like I was writing whole stories, you know what I mean? Like I had like narratives and arcs. If I couldn't finish the story that night playing with the toys, I'd ask Mom, I'd say, hey, can you not, clean up the G.I. Joes in this room, because I'm in the middle of the story and I need to finish the story. And she would say yes. So I think that storytelling bone has been in me from the very beginning.
Nah, that's
okay.
dope.
So tell me, man, about Harvard University. What was your college experience like?
I got to Harvard. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I figured history would be a part of it, but I didn't know exactly what part. Like, and I was really into movies growing up, so I definitely I was definitely interested in like Indiana Jones. So when I got to Harvard, I intentionally set out the anthropology department because I thought I wanted to be an archaeologist. But I'm from a family that didn't have a lot of money. When I found out that archaeologists didn't live in mansions, I was like, okay, I can't do that for a living. I just have to write more stories about archaeologists or something. And so I started majoring in economics because I thought I wanted to go to Wall Street. But by junior year, I was like, I can't do Wall Street. Like it was just didn't vibe with my personality. So I left college without a plan. Like I went 4 years at Harvard and told my parents, well, I'm moving to Hollywood. And they were not thrilled. But, I got to Hollywood and I was an assistant. And that wouldn't be too verbose and long-winded, but while I was at Harvard, again, not one of the kids with lots of money. So I had to figure out ways to pay for myself. I tried doing the law library. It was boring. I fell asleep. They found me asleep. I got fired, so, I was always trying to find a job. And eventually I saw how much one DJ, we had one black DJ, one hip hop DJ in Boston, well, in Cambridge, where Harvard is at that time, dude named Shock T. Rumor had it he had been a student at Harvard a long time ago, but it just didn't work out. So he just stayed in the area, just DJ'd for a living. And I was like, you can DJ for a living? You can play Mobb Deep and Common and Nas for a living and actually be able to pay your bills? So I immediately thought, okay, this is how I'm going to pay for my college, when you got to buy a Jackie, you want to take a girl to Pizzeria Uno or something like that. So I bought 2 turntables with a bullshit line of credit card. I'll never forget, it was $550 for each turntable. So I maxed that card out. I think it had $1,000. I maxed it out and had to pay $100, but I had my Technics 1200s. And I went down to Dorchester and Roxbury, picked up all my first 12 inches. This is before people had CDs. Like CDs didn't really come along in the DJ world until like 2001, 2002. So, I was mixing and I was doing a terrible job at it. My mixer had 2 channels and lots of broken knobs, but, I knew what people wanted to hear. And Shock T was an excellent DJ, but he basically only played Wu-Tang and Nas and stuff from the East Coast. And the thing about a college, you got people from everywhere. So people would hire me because I would still play those East Coast artists, but I would play Outkast and I would play Souls of Mischief and E40. It's amazing how long E40's been around. I got 12 inches by E40, Captain Save-A-Ho. I think that's like 1994. So like it's an old track. I was playing in the Bay Area, 3 Times Crazy, like deep Bay Area cuts. I was playing Master P. Shock T would not go near the South. So I played everything from Master P to Uncle Luke and all that kind of stuff. Even played Tupac for a couple of kids there weren't too many kids from Southern California at Harvard. But I played Tupac and the Outlaws for them. And so that's how I made my living as a DJ, because I had played the songs that the other East Coast DJs weren't playing at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's dope. So like, what movie or TV show would you say had like a big impact on you?
Oh man. Wow. Pee-wee's Big Adventure had a huge impact on me. I knew the first time I saw it, I was like, this is a weird comedy, but I love it. Like, it's like an adult world, but yet it's painted with these childlike colors, and everybody in the world is kind of like a kid. I just thought that Pee-wee was just, that to me was magical. I'm a function of when I was born, so that was big to me. The Muppets were big to me. For whatever reason, probably because my father was the man who he was. Things like Coming to America were big to me because, you got to see Black people living well and being hilarious. I feel like I've been chasing, to a certain extent, the humor of Coming to America from, about the time I could tell a joke. In fact, the first time I ever remember crying because something was funny, just when you laugh so hard you'd be in tears, was the Best of Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live video. I saw that when he was the 5th Beatle, when he was up there, because I knew who the Beatles were, and he said a Black man wrote all the Beatles songs, so that used to make me cry with laughter. Eddie's just got that gift. We're still trying to work with Eddie Murphy. Me and my writing partner Bashir. We've never found the right project to work with Eddie, but it's still a goal of mine to like write something truly hilarious for Eddie. Because I feel like people would just love to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell us about your big break. It was picked up by AOL and HBO, The Message.
The Message, man, I'm still proud of The Message. You can find The Message on YouTube. I don't get paid for it, so this is not me promoting anything. I just think if you want to see me and Bashir looking really young when we were like still kind of them dudes fresh out of college acting crazy. The Message, we had shot a video for HBO, because back in the earliest days of like, we want to go viral. We want something that's going to blow up on E-Bomb's world, like back in those days. You know what I'm saying? Like, we shot something for The Wire, and it was supposed to be a parody of The Wire called Wired to the Max. And, I look back on it now, and I'm like, I don't know what we thought this was gonna do. I mean, it didn't really go viral, but HBO really liked it. So they came back to us and they were like, hey, could you guys do, some videos on our portal with AOL called This Just In? And it was supposed to be almost like Saturday Night Live-esque, but with no money, but you had to shoot something every day. So because we had to shoot something every day, we were always like, oh man, what are we gonna do today? But the nice thing was, being just two broke dudes out in Hollywood trying to make it, when they gave us a budget, and this is 2007, they gave us a budget, I'll never forget this, of $1,500 a week. You couldn't tell us we weren't millionaires. We took all that money. We bought wigs, and we bought damn props and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And anything that made us laugh, we shot it. So it's 2007. So we were driving back. We were driving past a Ross, Dress for Less store, and Bashir looks over. He's like, "Hey, what if we did a song called Rick Ross for Ross?" And we were like, "Yeah, that's hilarious." And so we changed "Push It to the Limit" to "Prices You Can Live With." And we did a whole parody song, all of that, and all that stuff is still on YouTube. So like, if you do, I think if you do The Message Show, all one word, like The Message Show. Yeah. And or if you look up an account that I don't know who controls that account, but it's called Vlog Karate. I don't know who made that up. That wasn't us. But somebody named Vlog Karate collected a bunch of those old message sketches, and they're not all great, but some of them, like Poor Man's Hogwarts. One time I was driving into work and I was listening to this report on public radio on NPR, and they were talking about how public schools were just not delivering for students the way private schools were. And for whatever reason, I got to work and I was like, yo, Bashir, why don't we do something? Because I was really into those Harry Potter movies. I was like, yo, that's clearly Harvard. I was like, that's clearly a private school, Hogwarts. What's the public school version? What's the public school of magic? So we did a sketch called Buster's School of Magic Tricks. And we tried to show how, like, if you've seen Hogwarts, wait till you see this place that has like no amazing magic happening. You know what I mean? Like, and what's wild is a couple of years later, Key and Peele did something very similar with one of our friends. And I couldn't help but think, like, did so-and-so pitch them this idea? Like, because we already did that video, but we had a lot of fun at HBO and The Message because we have $1,500 a week and we have free reign. By the way, if we only spent $800 one week, that gave us $700 more dollars. So we had $2,200 the next week. We had rollover budget. So some of the videos we shot cost nothing and others cost a lot.
So I gotta ask you this, and I'm really like interested to see your perspective on this. Like, being a producer, a writer, like when you're watching other shows or movies, do you get to enjoy it from just a regular viewer's perspective, or do you have your critique hat on? Like, this could have been shot better.
Man, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'll put it like this. It's easier for me to watch dramas and get lost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. What was I watching recently? It's just easier for me to watch stuff that's not supposed to be funny. When I watch comedy, it's a lot easier for me to be like, oh yeah, that's funny. I don't know what it is. It's not a competitive thing. It's just I know how comedy gets shot more than I understand how drama gets shot. Even though it's not night and day, there's just something about it. Like, honestly, sometimes my favorite thing to watch is a documentary. Same way that we came up with that message sketch way long ago about Public School of Magic. Like, when I'm watching a documentary, something that's supposed to be laying out what's truly happening in the world, well, that truth can inform my comedy. I hate to be so blunt, but sometimes it'll be the most tragic stuff that'll make me think that, like, oh yeah, this is what I can do this. There's some comedy here. Like, I'll give you a classic example. This week, in Haiti, they kidnapped some people. You know what I'm saying? Apparently they've been kidnapping people a long time, but we didn't take notice of it. But until they kidnapped some Americans, I'm going to presume that they're white. I'm going to presume that they're white Americans. And it made me think, because I'm weird like that, I was like, wow, what if the kidnappers kidnapped these white Americans just so they could bring attention to the fact that they've been kidnapping a whole bunch of their own people all this time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and then I started thinking, well, damn, there's a lot you can do with that. If you accept that as a premise, there's a lot you can do with that. For example, if all the Bloods and Crips decided we're only going to kill each other in white neighborhoods. So so they're gonna drive, you know, to Bel Air and do all the, you know, killing and banging there, just so that eventually white people would be like, we've got to do something about this. You know, that's sort of how my mind works. I'll take something that's serious in the real world and try and figure out, well, how can I illuminate that through comedy? Because at the end of the day, I like to do comedy that has something to say, you know, not stealing from Andre 3000, the South got something to say. I want to do art that has something to say. If I ever do stuff that's just funny and I go back and I look at it 2 years from now, I tend to feel like, yeah, that was fine. I feel empty inside. It's like eating a bunch of junk food for dinner. You know, like I like to do something where I look back a couple of years later and I'm like, you know what, there was not necessarily a message, but there was something I wanted to point out to people through that.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
So
All right, I got a two-parter for you, bro. When did you meet Marlon Wayans, and what was it like working with him? Like when y'all did show Marlon?
I never knew Marlon before my first audition for that show. It was an audition I didn't want to go in for because, and this is no secret, Marlon knows this. When I read the script, I was like, they don't want me to come in for this. The line is literally, hey, yo, Marlon, you got a busted ass TV. I was like, I don't talk like that. I was like, why am I going in to read for this?
yeah.
And then my agent was like, well, one of the producers saw your HBO pilot, which never aired, and they thought you were really funny in it, so they want you to come in and just do it as yourself. That's what they said. They said, don't worry about the lines on the script. You know what the character's trying to say. Just say it the way you would say it. And I was like, oh, well, that's unique. So I go in and Marlon's sitting there and I'm like, oh, there's Marlon Wayans right there. And he reads his line, I say my line, he reads his line, I says my line. And then at the end of the thing, he was like, yo, and he gave me this big one-arm hug. And I was like, well, that was a good audition, because most auditions don't go like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like most of the time they're like, all right, nice having you. I thought at the very least, because I was on another show, Silicon Valley on HBO, where I went in and auditioned for something, didn't get it, but they were like, we like you, we're gonna give you another part. And that part ended up lasting for 3 seasons. So I was like, I feel like this is gonna be that. Like, they're not gonna hire me as Stevie, but they'll let me come on the show one time and do something funny. To my surprise, the next day they were like, they loved you, you got the part. You know, come on back, shoot the pilot. We shot the pilot. I had never done a live sitcom before. We got the live studio audience, 200 people over here. Made some people laugh. That was cool. And the show was special, man. You know, the show went 20 episodes. You know, we live in a streaming age now. So Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, unless you're like a Marvel show or like you're some huge breakout show like Stranger Things, they really only want 2 or 3 seasons out of you, because their data says that people who binge TV shows only watch something like 20 to 25 episodes. So, you know, and I don't know, I'll step out of line here and say, I guarantee if we had given people, you know, 10 more episodes of Marlon and brought it up to 30, people would have watched it, because to this day, I don't care where I am. I can be in Atlanta. I can be in Cali. I can be anywhere and people recognize me for that show. I was in Brazil getting off a plane in Rio, because, you know, Netflix is worldwide. And I got 2 million subscribers worldwide. I was at baggage claim, and this old goofy little dude came up and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, hey, are you Stevie? And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And he wanted me to take a picture with his family and stuff. And it was cool, man. I always say goofy because it's just like, I didn't know what the dude wanted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in a foreign country. He's tapping me on the shoulder. I'm there with my wife and stuff. But it was cool. And you know, it speaks to the power. I was actually in rural New Mexico. Long story, I'll say to that. But I was in rural New Mexico in like cowboy country. This old white guy came up and he was like, you play Stevie? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't know what he wanted. You know, like I was ready to square up if necessary. But he was just like, that was very funny when you told that girl out here to hit and quit it. I like that, hit and quit it. Like he thought I'd made that up, and I was gonna let him believe that because but it's strange, like the power of like TV, because people watch 20 episodes with you. That's in some ways more exposure than you would get with a movie. And so when they see you out in public, they think that they just know you. I know some people hate that. I've hung out with TV actors who are like, oh, I hate it when people come up and ask for a picture. I personally love it because as a writer, I've not tried to be out in front of the camera the whole time like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's absolutely fun.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Man, so I gotta ask you about this one right here. So I'm a fan of Kenya Barris, and obviously you got to work with him, man. He got some great workout as well. So how was that experience working with him?
Work with Kenya, you know what? I'm actually sad that the show that we were working with Kenya did not go. It's one of those classic examples of like, we were brought in by one president of ABC. By the time the script went in to ABC, they had a new president. He had his own agenda. Some of the best projects that could have ever been just don't get made because of corporate politics. But Kenya's the man. You know what I mean? Like, you have no idea how far the reach of Blackish and the other shows that he's done, like, but it's specifically Blackish. Like, I popped on a Blackish as an actor for one episode. And again, I got DMs from South Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, throughout the English speaking world, and I assume beyond that even, they have that show. It's sort of like the international Black show. So, he's made a lot of money for Disney through ABC. And it's funny to me that, sometimes these corporations don't treat the Black creators the way they would probably treat the white creators. Like the fact that he left ABC, went to Netflix, was unhappy there, and now he's got this new thing popping off with, I believe it's with BET and Viacom. He's still got more hits on the way. Kenya, he's a master storyteller and an amazing writer, and I think that at some point we'll probably work with him again.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hope so, man, for sure.
All right. So tell me about your recent comedy show, Southside, which is on Station Comedy Central. How they came
Well, it was
about.
crazy. It was on Comedy Central for season 1, but then HBO Max loved it so much they bought it off of Comedy Central. And the word is still out when I'll get to see my portion of that check. But but I actually really like HBO Max because, again, I think streaming is the future. And I think that like most people don't have cable like that anymore. So I noticed when Southside was on Comedy Central, we did good ratings for Comedy Central. But what really made people like hit me up like from high school and like in my DMs, like, yo, I just saw your show, was when we went to HBO Max, because that's how people watch TV. They watch it when they want to watch it. I think it's kind of ridiculous that anybody thinks that we can say, hey, watch my show. It comes on at 10 p.m. in these states, 9 p.m. in these states. Oh, and you got to watch it on this one screen in your house, but not on your phone and probably not on your computer. You're on my time. Watch it on my time, 10 p.m. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, nobody should have to do that anymore. People watch TV shows like this in bed at 3 a.m. when they can't sleep now. So, the days of me necessarily wanting to be on cable, not quite with it. I will say that the money is so big when you're on an ABC, a CBS, an NBC, like the big ones, Fox, the big four. I'll always try to crack that egg and try to figure out how to have a big hit, like Kenya, like Shonda. They had those big hits on the big four, and that's just a different tax class. But I also like the freedom I have on an HBO Max, on a Netflix, on a Hulu and an Amazon. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. I'm blessed enough to live very comfortably, just making shows that 10 or 20 years ago would have been cable shows, but I purposely don't love going to cable anymore because, again, when I'll never forget the first time I walked up in one of those cable places, and I was curious. I asked the girl at the front desk because she looked like she was like 21 years old. I was like, okay, so you work at, whatever the name, cable channel. Do you have cable? She's like, no, I have a Roku stick. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Nobody has cable.
Yeah,
Nobody under 30 is spending $250 a month
not at all.
on cable, you know.
Uh-huh.
And even when I travel now, most of the time when I stay in a hotel or in an Airbnb, all they have is the Roku, and I got my apps and I watch what I watch, and then we're good. So you know, you got to change with the times. I wouldn't want to be making black and white movies when there's color, unless I'm trying to do it to make an artistic point. And right now, I'm not trying to be on cable. I'm trying to do streaming, or I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
All right. You said something major though, man. You said something about power, and that's important for a black man. Power and create and control, you know, for when it comes to creativity. So big ups to you for that, man.
Hey, and listen, it doesn't come easy. You know, like I'm not suggesting that this town is easy on the white creators. Like I know for a fact that Seth MacFarlane makes Family Guy, and that show made, I mean, billions with a B.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like anytime you turn
Definitely.
on a TV somewhere in the world, Family Guy is playing.
His own.
And he took him the idea for Ted, and they still told him no. You know what I'm saying? Like you would think after hearing the billions with a B, he would be able to walk through the door. That said, white creators do get more, you know, say they get more swings at bat, I always like to say. And you know, as a black creator, you definitely could start to feel better. I try not to. I try to stay focused and just pitch what I think I would like to watch on TV, because I think I have good taste. And I think that my tastes are aligned with my family back in Atlanta, my extended family throughout the country, and just what would make me laugh. You know, I'm still doing primarily comedy. Although under this new deal with Warner Brothers, I will say that we're in the process of doing some things that are still comedic with a light touch, but in different genres. We have something that we're cooking up with Stephen King that would be primarily horror with some flashes of humor, but definitely going to try and scare you too. I think that's going to be a big thing. We have another something that I probably shouldn't say too much about it, but it's not quite a comedy, but I think it'll make sense why we're doing it, because again, it's always important for us to tell stories that, you know, how do I want to put it? It's not that we want to tell black stories, because I think these are universal stories, but I just want to see some black people in it. You know, I just did a piece for Thriller, that Chiller for that network, and I've always said, like, you know, growing up, I saw so many science fiction movies where they had all white crews, and it never occurred to me to explain that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just in the back of my head, I was like, hey, sometimes white people be in space. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm gonna start telling some stories in space with all black people. I don't want anybody to say, well, why is the crew all black? No, just don't ask, because you didn't ask that when it was an all white crew. So no, it's just gonna be an all black crew. Never gonna explain it. It's just gonna be some people in space. Deal with it.
Yep. Star Wars, Star Trek, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Star Trek tried to have a multicultural, because, you know, they had the Russian and they had Uhura, the black woman, and they had Dr. Sulu and all that stuff, but Dr. Spock and Mr. Sulu and all that. But yeah, I mean, that first Star Wars, like, thank God for Lando. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to that Lando series.
Yeah. Dope. Okay, so Diallo, man, I gotta ask this question, man. How do you guys keep your composure when you're shooting, or like you in the acting scene when it's a funny scene? Like, because it's like some scenes in a movie or a show that you like, I don't see how they was able to keep that cool. How does that go?
Man, everybody's got their own thing. I mean, like, breaking character, I'll put it like this. For me, once I start to feel that funny inside, that actually helps me find more funny stuff to throw in there, because that means that, you know, it's way better than when you're like running lines. I did an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It haunts me because I love that show, and I love Larry Davis humor. But the day I was on set, like, nothing we were saying was that funny. And so I'm like sitting there like trying desperately to think of something funny to say, because that show doesn't have a script. Just think of like, what's a funny take that I can offer up to Larry so this will be a classic scene. It never came to me. And I went home disappointed. I hate those kind of days. Thankfully, on the shows that me and Bashir do, I feel like we give the actors a lot of leeway in terms of what they can say, but we still give them a script. So you still have sort of a roadmap. So there have been times, on Sherman's Showcase and on Southside, and going all the way back to The Message. If you watch our Black Cinema review on The Message show, by the end we were definitely cracking. We were definitely breaking character. But I'll say this: there's one scene in season 2 of Southside. If I can tease something, my character Alan Gale is on a local talk show with an aspiring politician, Adam Bethune, played by Langston Kerman, who's in episode 9 of season 1. He's such a good improv actor, and I love good improv actors because I feel like it makes my improv better. We were going back and forth so hardcore that there are several times where I can look at the scene and tell, Langston almost cracked there, I almost cracked there. But I think if you're just watching it, it'll just seem like we're just saying these funny things, but like it's just a matter of staying disciplined and staying in the scene. Because as an actor, you don't want to break, because if it's funny enough to make you laugh, people at home are going to laugh at that. You know what I'm saying? And if you crack, then you can't use that take. So you start mustering all your, discipline, and it's almost like, I don't mean to be crass, but it's almost like holding in a fart. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like sitting there like mad tense stomach, and you're just like, don't crack. Like sometimes you'll see actors like cover up their mouths and stuff for a split second and then come pop back up like this, But that's when it's fun. That's when you feel alive, and that's when I wouldn't trade it in for anything, man. Those are some of the best moments, when you think you might crack, but you don't.
Yeah.
And then, you wait until like there's like a pause, and then someone breaks it, the director yells cut, then everybody starts laughing, crew and D, because everybody knows when you're about to lose it.
Yeah.
I love those moments, man. It's just discipline, it's just yeah.
Because I've heard
back in the days, I used to just think about like, okay, just think about something unhappy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's be really real. How real can we get on this podcast? It's like when you having sex and you don't want to come. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same thing. So what's some things you do to try and make that not happen?
You got to think about other stuff.
You got to put your mind somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the exact same thing, man. You just got to put your mind somewhere else. And back in the days, I used to be like, oh man, I got those bills that I cannot pay.
Yeah.
Just anything unpleasant so that you would not laugh at what you're going through in that moment, But
okay.
Yeah.
I guess because before we wrap, so what made me think of that was because I was listening to I forgot who the specific actor was, and they was talking about their the sets that they like being on rather than others. And it came up like, you have certain producers, or they'll tell everyone on set, don't laugh, we don't need, like, everyone has to be serious. And it's like that set is it's fun, don't get them wrong, but at the same time it's like it's tough because you want to have fun when you're shooting. And so that's what made me think like, man, I wonder how that is to know you on a funny set but you really can't laugh.
So it doesn't matter what kind of show, right? Because on Marlon, where you got the studio audience, they're laughing, and so in a weird way, that's almost like a release for you. You know what I'm saying? As an actor,
okay.
Like if they're laughing really hard at something, yeah, you might break, or you might just be like, "Oh man, this is so good. I'm gonna stay in character and just be like, essence." Like you just stay in character. Definitely, there was one take in particular on Marlon where we had an intervention and Marlon started crying, like that dude for that famous clip on Intervention.
Yeah.
Then couldn't none of us go. I mean, like we all just like, the cameras over here, we were all just like.
And Marlon is so dramatic too, man. He's so dramatic as an actor, dog. He just
doesn't hold anything back. I mean, like he's so intense. I've seen that dude. He did a 24-minute, and if you've worked on a set, you know how absurd this is. We did one take. It was 24 minutes. It was 24 minutes of Marlon like crying, running around the set, crawling over people, falling over furniture. Like it was like he went insane. And then at the end of that 24 minutes, the crowd got up and they gave him a standing ovation. And I tell you, he was not making up. He was like, honestly, I don't remember shit I just did. Like, it was like he went into a fugue state. Like, he just temporarily forgot who he was, where he was. And it was all in character, but he was lost in the character. And it was, I don't encourage that for people starting out. People will hate you if you pull it. That's the shit you could pull when you're, you know, $1 million earning actor or something like that. Because then it's cute. Then people think, oh, wow, that was great. But if you do that and you're the day player, people are gonna be like, we gotta get this cat off the stage. Yeah, I think that. Oh, by the way, I'm very proud of the fact. Sometimes it can almost be like a competition because, you know, this Sunday, is it this Sunday? Is it this Sunday the 24th? It sure is. Is the debut of the last season of Insecure, and I pop in for a scene. And it was the first time I'd been on Insecure, even though I've known those people forever. A lot of friends of mine on that show. I was so proud of myself because I'm in this one scene, this one little stupid scene, but it was a good part. It's a funny character, and I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know how much of it it'll use, but let me tell you, it's not easy to make Issa break character and just start laughing, and I did that. And I was like, you know, like, it was the opposite. I'll share with you my highs and my lows. Curb Your Enthusiasm, I didn't have it. Larry seemed sleepy that day. Terrible cameo. But that scene in Insecure, like I had Issa laughing, and I was like, okay, so this is all right. This is a good feeling. And now I'm actually supposed to be talking to her tomorrow about a new project. So, you know, when you get those chances, you know, just make them, if you're a comedian, make them laugh, man. You know, figure out the tone and the vibe on set and then just run with it. And just don't go home on any sad drive home like, damn, I didn't kill it. Like, that's what you don't want to do. Yeah. Like an NBA player takes, you know, 2 shots the whole night and goes home 0 for 2. You know what I mean? You don't want that. Yeah. You want to take more shots at the very least.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Dope, man. Well, we don't want to hold you too long, so we just want to say we thank you, man. We made history tonight. Like, we finally got an actor, producer, writer, all that good stuff, man. So we thank you, man, for just sharing some of your time. And we're fans.
It's been fun, man. And like the sign says, believe behind you, man, believe, because you know, people always ask me, how do I break into this business? I tell them, look, you want to be a writer, write your story. You want to be an actor, write a 5-minute scene and get your friend to shoot it and truly be in that character and then send that around. Like, just whatever you want to do. If you want to direct it, I'm sure you can find some actors, you know, somewhere in your city, shoot them and use that as a calling card, but have something to show. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, will sometimes hit me up in the DMs and just be like, man, I got this story I really want to share with you. I can't do that. Legally, I can't do it because people be like, oh, it's about a black man. And then the next time I come out of the show, I'll be like, black man in his show, black man in my script that I didn't write. You know, like, I legally can't, you know, hear unsolicited ideas. So that's the first thing. But also, like, if it's truly that great an idea, just write it down. Like, it's not hard. There's actually free software out there. Most of the professionals don't use it, but it's good enough. There's free screenwriting software out there. Write it down. You know what I'm saying? And then before you send it to somebody like Ashana Rhimes, like, have your friends read it, revise it, read it again, revise it. You read it, change stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing stopping you. I always say we all got a movie studio in our pocket. You know what I'm saying? You can shoot it on here if you know what you're doing, and people will watch it. So, you know, there's nothing stopping you. Get to it. Like my man Sign says, believe, and thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Y'all heard it here first, man. Diallo Riddle. Make sure y'all go stream everything that he's a part of right now. And we'll see y'all next week. Thank you again, Diallo.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
All right.